What's going on, guys? My name is Shane. I'm here with Mark, and we are the Fantasy Football Pros.
How you doing?
We are a brand new podcast, and today we will be talking about second-year running backs going into the 2021 season. This is a two-part series, so we will be doing 5 players this time, and the next video will be the other 5.
Shane, before we get started on the second-year running backs, can we talk about that fantastic game we saw on Sunday with the Super Bowl?
You mean that Boarfest? Absolutely, Mark.
You're not a fan of defense, huh?
Defense is fine and all. I mean, you know me, I am a Bears fan. However, when you're watching the Super Bowl on two of the greatest quarterbacks in the league right now, you're kind of expecting some touchdowns.
Well, I understand, but then if you were a Bears fan in '85, would you have been bored watching the Bears win that Super Bowl when they were just kicking the living hell out of them with their defense?
Well, I think that was a different defense, and I think we're going to start debating kind of early. That defense was mean and scary and much better than the Tampa Bay defense that we saw in the Super Bowl.
Okay. I'll give you that. But I thought it was fun watching that defense. I really had a good time watching Mahomes running around for his life because he was just running in circles, running around and getting out of things I never thought he could get out of. And then just with a flick of the wrist, throwing it toward the end zone and giving his receivers a chance to actually make a play, but they didn't. But it was still fun watching him run around.
That is normally what he does. And it was shocking to see him running almost immediately on every single play. But I think there was something I was unaware of. I wasn't paying attention before the game, but I think he was missing offensive linemen.
Yes. But the thing about it is, which I thought was fantastic, if you noticed with Tampa, they were not blitzing. This was a 4-man front just terrorizing.
Dominating.
Exactly. I mean, dominating from the beginning, from the opening kickoff to the end of the game, just dominating that line. And they got to him. They were able to keep the defensive backs back in position, so he had nowhere to throw. It was just a fantastic game plan, and they just said to their defensive line, you guys go out there and win this for us. We're not going to help you. It's on you. And I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, that was really surprising. I mean, Tyreek Hill was pretty much nothing the whole game.
Yeah, was he there?
And he's the
I don't remember.
fastest player in the NFL by far.
Yeah. No, in all seriousness, I was sitting at my brother-in-law's house watching the game with him, and it was in the middle of third quarter, and he asked me, has Tyreek Hill even done anything yet? And that's how – at that point, he actually had caught his 5th pass, but you wouldn't even have known it because they were just pedestrian catches. They were nothing downfield. It was all just pedestrian catches. It was nothing.
And the downfield passes were complete misses.
Yep.
Honestly, it kind of looked like, and again, I am a diehard Bears fan. It looked like a Bears offense.
That's ugly.
Quarterback is running around. Yeah. Offensive linemen don't know who they're protecting, and all the passes are just errant.
Yeah, it was, as far as that goes, watching that game, it really was a sloppy game. And even still, the Bucs absolutely dominated, right? And when you look at the stat line and you see Brady's stats, he threw 3 touchdowns, sure, but there was no yardage there. It was nothing downfield. It was not what you expected from this game. Let's put it that way. Everybody was expecting 55 points, 60 points. It just was not what you were expecting.
Yeah, I saw on ESPN, one of the analysts said that Brady was going to get 500 passing yards.
Well,
he was off by about 300. But...
yeah, the over under, and I remember looking at this prop bet. The over under for yards, total yards by quarterbacks was 655. No. If you took the under on that, you felt pretty good about that, and at halftime, you're like, "Okay, I got this one locked up."
What'd they get, about 500 something total?
Well, Brady was only, what, 210 or something like that? So
He was at 203.
203, yeah, yeah, so they were right around 500 yards total. So you did not have the gambling sweats going on for that game if you were bet the under on that prop. There was no sweats going on.
Talk talk about gambling sweats. How about the guy that bet $50,000 that there was going to be a streaker on the field during the Super Bowl, and then it turns out it's him.
I mean, I got one word. Genius. Absolutely
As long as
genius.
it's hey, if it's not against the rules, I guess he got away
I
with
mean,
it.
I hope he didn't say anything online before he got his money, because I mean, if he would have boasted about it right afterwards, I hope he got his money first. I mean, I would have made sure. I would have been like looking around the corners. Okay, is anybody seeing me? All right, I'm gonna go collect my money now. Thank you very much. That was me. you know,
I think that's exactly what he did. I think it was like a day or two afterwards is when we found out that's what he
I
did.
mean, uh, genius. I mean, could he get arrested for insider trading? I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was illegal to bet on yourself.
I
That's the whole Pete Rose debate, right?
Yes. I mean, yes, but he's not playing the sport, but he was playing the prop.
Yeah, he was playing the bet
Yeah.
that he was a part of.
I mean, I'm sure something's going to come out of this. We'll see something down the lines where they're going to try to sue him for it or something to get money back or something. But genius. That's all I got to say. And his pink thong was just beautiful.
Oh, I didn't get to see much of it because the camera crew likes to show the player
Yeah.
reactions.
No, I saw it on I saw it online today. The whole thing, someone had taped the whole thing, and yeah, classic. That's all I got to say. Um I do gotta say one other thing I did love with the Super Bowl.
Uh-huh.
Well, one, the gambling sweats because I did end up winning 3 squares. So I got the halftime on one pool, third quarter and final score on another one. So at the very end of the game, I did have the sweats going on, praying to the interception gods that Mahomes would throw a final interception when he was down there at the 8-yard line. And I went into my best Pete Townsend impersonation when he did. That air guitar was going. My nieces were looking at me like Uncle Mark's done lost his mind, but that was okay. But I did also love watching Fournette run the ball.
He was impressive. I mean, for the Jaguars just to like let him go, saying this guy's trash, he doesn't belong on our team. And now he's in the Super Bowl and he's just trucking along. I mean, nothing like crazy impressive, but
But he was
he's
hurting.
letting team.
He was hurting them. I mean, he was not. He
Yeah,
was running angry.
and he's showing teams because I believe he's a pending free agent.
Yes.
He only signed a 1-year contract with Tampa. That he's showing teams, I can be your
Yeah.
starter.
Oh, he made himself some money.
Definitely, he's gonna get a contract.
But I got to share this with you. I don't know if you had seen this. For the Tom Brady people, you either love him or hate him, and even the people that hate him respect him.
Right?
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's just like LeBron James.
Let me tell you why he though is the smartest and the best quarterback of all time.
Go ahead.
Um, and it's not so much with his talent. Okay, he doesn't have a fantastic arm. He can't run out of the pocket, uh, but it's between the ears and
Hmm.
and the leadership skills that he has. It's like Jordan when he when for the Bulls when Jordan was playing, he willed everybody else to be better. Okay, in an interview after the game, Fournette talked about how the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, Tom Brady was at his house just breaking down film, and then he was texting everybody and telling them what they need to do, how they are gonna win this game. There is no doubt we're not gonna win this game. We are gonna win this game. And what he sent to Fournette was Tom would send him a text every night saying KC was 31st in the league in yards allowed after contact, which means they are soft. Put your shoulder down and break them. This is seriously. He said he got this text every night from Tom Brady.
Wow,
That is a leader. And it wasn't just
that is
Fournette. He
true.
said the whole team was getting texts from him saying, I've been here before. I've won Super Bowls. I know we are going to win.
Yeah, I did hear that he was texting all of his teammates saying, "We're gonna win this.
Yep.
We're gonna do this."
But yeah, he was breaking
And
down to each one of them though. If you do this, we will win. So he was breaking it down, watching film and breaking it down and texting them. And I think that's why he has 7 rings.
definitely, definitely the smartest quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
And I heard Coach Aaron's talking about Tom after the game, before the game. I think it was before the game, saying that how he is the Tom is the assistant coach to Aaron's.
Okay. Well, yeah.
That ever since he brought Tom in, it was like an immediate change.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom's like, hey, is it okay if I'm doing this? He's like, go ahead, coach him.
Well, you could see through the season and in the playoffs, there were a couple times where Brady called a timeout because he didn't like the play that came in, and he would go to the side and say, "No, I want to do this," and Aaron's would be like, "Okay, go ahead." So yeah, I mean, he was not he was not afraid to voice his opinion on if he thought the play was crap, that they could do better with a different play. He would voice his opinion, and Arians listened to him, and
But it makes
yeah,
sense. This is his 10th time being there.
yeah, yeah.
How many times was Bruce Arians there?
Well, as head coach, never.
Right.
But I'm
So
trying to
Tom
think
going,
if he even
not that play, do this play. Oh, okay.
yeah.
That's a good idea, Tom.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, enough about
Yes.
Tom Brady.
Okay.
And the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Let's dive into our second year running backs. I think that's everyone's favorite position. And we will start with my personal favorite second year running back, Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor finished with 1,169 rushing yards on 232 attempts. He had 11 touchdowns and 1 fumble. Those stats make him 3rd in rushing, 7th in touchdowns, 8th in attempts. He also had 36 catches on 39 targets for 299 yards and another touchdown. So, Mark, what do you think about Jonathan Taylor?
He's okay. I'm just joking. Wow. I wish in my fantasy league I would have picked him over some other running backs I had selected. I did not expect I really did not expect what we got out of him. I know this year coming up in the drafts, he has just earned himself a higher draft selection in every league. It's crazy. Just everything he's got, and the funny thing is, his receptions. We're not even talking about his receptions so much. He has very good hands. 21 targets.
36 of 39 targets.
Yeah, 39 targets. And how many balls did he catch?
36.
There you go. So I know that the Colts love Naheem on that in that area, but I'm telling you, if they ever decide to make him an every down back, and then use Hines as a gimmick or as other position. I mean, there's so much they could do with those two because Taylor can catch the ball.
Yeah. So I did know that about Jonathan Taylor, about his talent, and that's why you were not able to draft him because I drafted him before you.
Yes, you did.
I think that Jonathan Taylor will actually take the lead role and Hines will be like a supplementary back.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think on 3rd downs it's going to be Hines every single time. I think we're going to see Taylor there more. We're probably going to see more than his 232 rushing attempts. And if that goes up, I mean, that's even better. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be a staple for a long, long time.
Well, and then if you look how he came on also in the second part of the season. Weeks 9 through 17, he averaged 5.9 yards per carry. Are you kidding me? He was their goal line back. He had 8 touchdowns in the last from week 9 through 17. Are you kidding me right now with that? That's crazy how he came on with that. I mean, think about this. He averaged 5.9 yards per carry that last bit of the season. Derrick Henry was 5.8 yards.
Yeah, but Derrick Henry had about 85 more rushing attempts.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he did. Yeah. I mean, he was a bell cow. I mean, that was just here, feed him, feed him, feed him. And that's what we're saying here is that if Taylor, and I think what we've seen in the second half of the season, we're going to see that and even more starting the season right away next year. I don't think they're going to play around with that, which back we're going to play today, who's going to get the ball. That usage is going to be going right to him. I mean, that's him. It's his.
Yeah.
And you'll see, I mean, you're still going to see Hines going out for passing situations, things of that nature. But I think what we saw the second part of the season, he's earned himself to be on the field in those third down and passing situations. He's earned that right. And I think we're going to see more and more of it.
Absolutely. I mean, from weeks 9 through 17, Jonathan Taylor was the number 4 running back. The number 3 running back from weeks 9 through 17 was Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook had 125 more rushing yards than Taylor, but Cook also had 58 more rushing attempts.
Yes.
So you can say that Jonathan Taylor was a more effective running back than Dalvin Cook.
Oh, without a doubt.
In the second half of the season.
I mean, even if you look at receiving, Dalvin Cook was 7.8 yards receiving per catch, where Taylor was 7.1. I mean, it's still nothing to sneeze at there. Again, what we're saying here is getting the opportunity. We could see some Dalvin Cook numbers coming out of this guy.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
But it also kind of depends on what quarterback they bring in, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's what it looks like. It's them or the Bears for Wentz, and does that help anybody out anyway?
I don't think that helps out anybody. Yeah. I think it helps the Eagles to get rid of him.
Yeah, and even still, if you look at with the Wentz will hand off the ball quite a bit and do little dump down passes,
and he'll also steal goal line carries. Though
this is true too. Or maybe that was just Philadelphia. They just didn't trust anybody else.
Did they have a true power back?
Howard.
Yeah, but he was kind of trash towards the end of the career.
Well, sure, but that was the guy they went with. That's who they went on. I mean, what was that? He had 2 rushing yards in the first couple weeks and 2 touchdowns. You know, something stupid like that. I mean,
yeah, that's Howard.
Yeah, being a Bears fan, you know.
Unfortunately, yes. But I don't know. I think that Taylor would be the bell cow. Yeah. I think Hines will spell his bell cow.
Yes. Again, the question mark's going to be who they bring in as quarterback for the Colts. Maybe he gets even more usage because they have a trash quarterback and they have to. We'll see what happens with that. But Jonathan Taylor is definitely number 1 on my list as far as second-year running backs.
But the problem with that also is if it is a trash quarterback, then the defense can stack the box because they know that Jonathan Taylor is going to run the ball.
Yeah. And then they'll definitely have to start switching it up and around and switching things up with that as far as getting him some coming out of the flats and all that for some catches too, just so they just can't load the box up like that. Next guy I want to talk about is James Robinson.
Okay.
Can we just say, where did he come from?
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't even hear about the guy until week 1, and I saw his stats. I was like, oh, that looks pretty good.
See, now, I knew about him coming out. I watched a couple of the Illinois State games, 2 years ago, last year, whatever you want to call it. So I knew about him, but I had no idea that from the get-go, just everything would turn his way where he's like, okay, he's the man. Never, ever saw that one. Another one is, listen, he was on my radar as far as picking him up after the draft happens, being undrafted. Wow, what he did with taking an opportunity and just going with it.
Yeah. So James Robinson had 1,070 rushing yards on 240 rushing attempts with 7 touchdowns, 1 fumble. He also had 49 catches on 60 targets for 344 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, for someone being undrafted, pretty much a name that nobody knew, on, I would say, a bad offense.
You could
not a good offense.
You could say bad offense. You go ahead. Go right ahead.
Bad offense, and to be one of the top running backs. Was he 5th in overall in PPR for running backs?
For the full season, he finished number 7.
Number 7. That's crazy impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, now coop that with the fact he's on a trash team, but now they get the number 1 pick, most likely. They're going to be picking up Trevor Lawrence, who in college is tearing it up. So do you think defenses will be less inclined to stack the box against James Robinson, knowing that there's a very talented but young quarterback there.
So let's add something else into that mix. You've got Urban
Uh,
Meyer, whose offenses throughout his coaching career have been very unique, shall we say, powerful offenses. So I think with him, he's going to be able to figure out ways to give room for Robinson to run. I think they're going to come up with schemes and game plans that won't interfere with Trevor Lawrence's development. I think the two combined between Trevor Lawrence, between Urban Meyer and Robinson, I think you're going to see the ball get spread around. And I don't think he's going to be any less used than he was this year, if that makes any sense to you.
no, I agree. I think they have young, talented wide receivers there.
Oh, without a doubt.
So you have two really young, talented wide receivers. You get the quarterback. You have the running back. I mean, as long as their offensive line holds up, I think the Jaguars might have an offense this year.
Yes, I think so too. I think that was I mean, if you're relying on Gardner Minshew get you to win games, it's not going to happen. Okay, I'm sorry. Nice kid, great mustache, but no.
Fantastic stash.
Oh yeah, I mean that's
makes me very jealous.
that's because you can't even grow anything.
No, I cannot.
But no, I think
I'm like a hairless cat.
One of those. What was that, Dr. No from James Bond, who had that in his lap or something? I can't remember. Anyway.
Yeah. That's my skin complexion too. Just pasty white.
But I also think this. They're going to have a better offense, okay? They're going to run more offensive plays this year than they ran last year. Last year they had, how many times they're doing 3 and out? They will have a better offense, run more plays, which will give Robinson more opportunities. It doesn't mean that he's going to have a better averages than he did this year or any of that type of stuff. It just means I think he's going to have more opportunities because they'll have the ball for a longer period of times. And
more scoring opportunities.
Exactly.
The most important part. He did have 10 touchdowns in 2020, and I could definitely see that going up.
I can tell you this also. He is definitely on people's radar this year because if you look at mock drafts, and I like looking at mock drafts to see what's happening right now, they're already started. If you have not started looking for this year's draft already, you're behind the ball already. You're already behind. You're behind already. The Super Bowl finished, and that next day you should have been looking already for next year. If you want to win your leagues, if this is what you want to do, if it's very important for you to win your leagues, you want to do well. This is not just a week before the draft of your league draft is set or looking at stuff. No. You have to start looking now. This is when you should start. You're watching all the rumor wires of which quarterback's going where. What's going to happen with the quarterback situations? You got to be looking at all that stuff now and thinking about the possibilities of what's going to happen with these with your players that you currently have if you're in a keeper league or players that you're thinking about drafting. So last year being undrafted in most leagues, some people picked him up at the very end of the drafts last year, but this year he is being selected on average the 8th pick in the 2nd round. So if anybody thinks they're going to get Mr. James Robinson cheap, no, this is not a White Castle dinner.
No. But he's not as expensive as Kamara was in his 2nd year.
No. Yeah, Kamara, after his first year, rookie year, he went right up to the 1st round. I mean, it's like he was a 1st round pick right away.
Yeah. Mark and I are in a keeper league together, and we'll go into further details about that. And we'll also have some podcasts about keepers and how to draft for that.
Shane did a really good job this year of, and again, without delving too much into it, he is set up for his young running backs for our league next year. He paid attention. He did his homework on all these, and his 2nd year running backs, he's got 2 keepers he's using for that. It's already going to put the rest of us behind the 8 ball as far as that goes.
Well, that's the hope, but we'll see. You never know how the season turns out.
Unless do
but
a Tanya Harding on one of them. But anyway.
But yeah, we will go into keepers and all that. I was fortunate enough to draft Alvin Kamara in the 15th round in our keeper league, and you get to keep him in that same round. So I had him for 2 more years, a 1st round draft pick as my very last pick. And yeah, I dominated that league.
There you go. James Robinson is not going to be cheap, but for what his results are going to be, what we think his results are going to be, eighth pick in the second round. If you can get him in that position, that's a fantastic position.
Absolutely.
That's someone I'll be targeting actually earlier than that if I have to. But yeah, I don't see any regression from him. I see him doing much even better this year, coming up with a new coach, a new offensive scheme, and with a young franchise quarterback.
Yeah, the only way I could see his attempts going down is if they bring in some free agent. But
And we'll keep an eye on that for you guys. We stay up on top of that, and when something like that happens, we'll make sure if we whatever rumors we hear will be given to you guys.
and as of right now, I haven't heard any
Uh-uh.
rumors about the Jaguars going for any free agent running backs right now.
Nope.
But we will keep you posted. Next second year running back we're going to be talking about is Zack Moss, which you were a big fan of
I was.
into his rookie year. So I'll just go into his stats for 2020. He only had 481 rushing yards on 112 attempts with 4 touchdowns, but he had no fumbles. He also received 14 catches on 18 targets for 95 yards and a touchdown. So, Mark, what do you think about, how do you feel about Zack Moss? You drafted
Yeah,
the guy, so I'm going to
I
ask
did
you.
draft the guy. I drafted him later in the draft, thinking that he would take over Singletary. I was never impressed with Singletary, and I thought he would
No,
take over
no, nor
for
was
him
I.
in the second half of the season, and it really did not develop that way.
No. But Singletary and Moss, they just seem like
Same player.
they're the same
Yeah.
guy. Yeah. What's the
Yeah,
difference?
exactly.
Go
So
ahead.
I did like Zach Moss. I did draft him later in the draft,
Uh-huh.
thinking that he was going to take over for Singletary toward the second half of the season, and that did not materialize. I did not realize they were the same guy,
Same player.
same player.
Zack Moss, Singletary. No difference.
Yep. I mean, the one thing that Zach Moss did though was break tackles. So Singletary, for instance, he broke broken tackles. He broke 9 tackles. Singletary, an average 2.9 yards per after contact. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Moss, he had broke 13 tackles, an average 2.4 yards after contact. So he was what I thought he was. Okay, so I'm not gonna complain about my thinking. This is who I thought he was. I just did not realize that Singletary was the same guy, just 1 year older.
Yeah, it kind of makes you think of why they drafted Moss.
Yeah, I don't understand it, and I would love to sit here and say I'm right. Is going to end up being right. I'd love to say that, but I was not right. And what we're going to see is that Moss is under contract, of course, but so is Singletary. Singletary under contract for another 2 years because this year was his second year, so he's still under contract this next year.
Yeah, they're still under their rookie
Yeah,
contracts.
so we're going to see a 50-50 split there. This is someone Zach Moss. Would I look at drafted him later in the round? Only the only reason I'm even thinking about drafting him would be if something happened during training camp where he became, clear evidence that he was going to be the starter over Singletary. Right now, I don't see that. I don't see a split there. I see a split there. I don't see anybody coming out on top. I'm going to stay away from Zach Moss this next year. If something happens, maybe he's on the waiver wire at that point.
Yeah, I am with you on that. I don't think it's going to be a 50-50 split, though. If you watch the Buffalo Bills, it kind of seemed like they're one player away from getting to the Super Bowl, from beating Kansas City. And they didn't really have a talented running back, and I could see them going for a free agent
I mean,
to add to these guys.
wow. And then you have
Someone who's not one of them.
yeah. Someone who's a little bit of the speed back instead of this power back that these guys are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they would be smart to do so. Will they do it or not? Who knows? Will they find someone in the draft to do that? I don't know.
I don't think they're going to draft another
Yeah,
running back. I mean, they just did that 2 years in a
yeah.
row. I mean, if Aaron Jones, pending free agent, goes to Buffalo, whew,
Oh well,
watch out for this
all
team.
bets are off then. Then it's going to be no committee at that point.
Yeah.
If something like that.
So we
were to
seem to be
happen.
at an agreement. Probably aren't going to be touching Zack Moss this year, as of
Yeah.
right now. Obviously, it's way too early to tell these things. These are just our opinions of what happened last season and what we think are going to happen this season. As of right now, I won't be touching Zack Moss. Maybe he'll be a late round flyer.
Maybe. I'd have to have an awful good draft for that to even happen as a possibility. I'd have to have an awful good draft, getting some quality running backs to start with before I waste a draft pick
Mm.
on him with a this might happen down the road type of thing.
And while we're on the subject of these low tier running backs, why don't we jump over to Joshua Kelley of the Chargers?
Okay.
Joshua Kelley had 354 rushing yards on 111 attempts, 2 touchdowns and 2 fumbles. He also received 23 catches on 23 targets for 148 yards and no touchdowns. So the catching is very impressive. 23 on 23 targets.
Mm-hmm. So here's my quandary here. So the Chargers have have Kelley. They also had Balaj, and Anthony Lynn is gone. So I don't think they're going to do the committee like they did with with these three guys that they had, right? Because they had Eckler, Balaj, and Kelley. But here's the one thing that to me shows hope of something for Kelley in the future. I think they have a lot more invested with Kelley than they do Balaj. I think with Anthony Lynn
Okay.
gone, I think we're going to see Kelley on the opening day roster for sure. Who knows what'll happen at that point? Well, with a new coach, we'll see. Have to watch to see how he's being used in camp and seeing the preseason and listen to what the coaches are saying about him. But I do not think we have to worry about Balaj anymore with him getting any of the share of the running duties. So, I mean, will I be interested? Yeah, I'm going to be watching him. Right now, is he in my wheelhouse of what I'm going to select? Probably not, but I'll definitely be paying attention to what the coaching staff had to say about him coming out of camp.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Eckler is the
Yeah.
lead back there. I could kind of see them bringing in uh, a backup running back to squeeze in between Kelley and Eckler, possibly like Mike Davis
Okay. Yeah.
can come back, or not come back, but come into the team
Yeah.
and join them.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, if Balaj is gone, I mean, I think we all know he's gone. They do need someone else there. They just can't, it's not going to be a two running back backfield, and it will be interesting to see
Yeah.
who they bring in. Do they look at someone saying, okay, Kelley's not our guy of the future? So do they bring through draft a running back in, thinking that, Eckler is not that young anymore?
And a
A
little
little
bit
injury
injury
prone,
prone.
right? He's got some mileage on him as far as because his usage and he's not the biggest dude in the world, that's for sure. So we'll have to watch those things. We'll know more after the draft, and then we could evaluate after that too. But for right now, yeah, I'm not putting him on my draft board for what I'm looking at with my team right now.
Not as
No,
as right now. No, not as
but
not
who I
as of
do
right
have
now.
on my radar big time,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Um,
Ooh.
this is an opportunity. All right. And I shouldn't be telling you this because we're in the same league, but he is one of those opportunities that people sold high on him, sold low on him already, right? There's recency bias. People saw what he did. He burned too many fantasy owners saying that overvaluated him for his rookie year. I mean, he was so overvalued. There was no way he should have been taken until the third round. No way. And here he was taken in the first round. There's a recency bias there.
Yeah, he's a talented
Yeah.
rookie going to Kansas City. So I mean, I think the hype was justified, but
Yeah.
it was an overstep. He finished with 803 rushing yards on 181 attempts. He had 4 touchdowns, 0 fumbles, which
Yeah.
Andy Reid likes. He also received 36 catches on a whopping 54 targets for 297 yards and a touchdown. That last stat is surprising to me because Mahomes picked this running back.
Mm-hmm.
He handpicked him. And I was assuming it was his overall ability and mainly his ability to catch the ball.
But here's what kept him off the field. He is not a good blocking back. So when it came to passing situations, he did. He was one of the reasons why Mahomes is running all over the place. Okay, let's just
Yeah.
put it that way. Now,
Yeah.
can you imagine the stats he could have had if he was a third down back? If he was if he was on the field more often? He just was kept off the field because did not block well. If
Hmm.
he's as smart as I think he is, he's going to figure that out and look at it and say, "Where did I screw up? Why wasn't I there in the pass? Why wasn't I getting the passes?" All these different things. He's going to look at it, and the coaches in his ears going, "Listen, you want more touches? You got to block. You don't. If you don't block in this offense, you're not on the field." And that's a blocking is not a natural gift. It's not like a guy who's running who can see holes. Okay, blocking is technique.
Hmm.
Blocking is something you can learn. So I'm hoping that he puts the effort into it and really learns how to block and gets on the field more often.
Well, I definitely think the coaching staff's going to work with him, and I think he's going to be on the field a lot more. I mean, you have Andy Reid; he's one of the best coaches of all time. I don't think he's going to have an issue teaching a young guy
Yes.
how to block.
Well, let me throw this stat at you too. I just love this stat. So yards after he can run hard. Okay, he's not just a speed back. He can run hard. He can run with and squaring up his shoulders. His yards after contact was 2.1 yards, but he broke 15 tackles this year.
Hmm.
He has the ability. If he can break tackles, if you have the ability, if you have that strength, you know what I'm saying, you can block. That is the breaking tackles has got to do with the legs and driving through things. He should be able to block also for the passing. So I really think that, like you said, with them working with him, he will be on the field more next year.
And he'll know
Yeah.
where to block too. And I think that might have been part of his issue is that he's blocking the wrong side. He's going towards the right, and he's supposed to be blocking the guy down the middle.
This Clyde Edwards, this is my guy that I think people are not going to be on him because of that recency bias, and I think they're going to make the mistake of it. Now, just so you know, right now in mock drafts, he's being selected in the third round. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm talking about the recency bias. People are holding back on him because of what they think he was a flop. And he wasn't. He wasn't a flop. But that's what people have heard. For what
For
but
for a first round draft player, he
oh,
was definitely a
and
flop.
that's what I'm saying. He should never have been selected there. He should have been selected in the third round last year. That's where he should have been selected. And what
Yeah.
we're seeing is this year, him being selected in the round he was supposed to be selected in.
I mean, people saw Damian Williams on the Kansas City offense tearing it up. I mean, last Super Bowl, he had 3 touchdowns. I think he should have got the MVP that year, but he
Mm-hmm.
didn't. They gave it to Mahomes. And no one thinks that Damian Williams is a good
Right.
running back. And then you take Clyde, one of the most talented rookie running backs at the time, and you're like, oh, he has to do better. But what we didn't
Yep.
know is that he
There
can't
you go.
block. And if you can't block, you can't get on the field. You don't get many rushing attempts. He had 181
Yeah.
rushing attempts. James Robinson was undrafted, had 240 rushing attempts.
Yes, it
That
does.
says a lot.
Yes, it does. Well, we'll see this year. Like I said, I think everybody's going to beat his ear enough to know that he's going to have to work on that. And I'm hoping for big things for him next year. I really am.
Yeah, so am I. Looking forward to it. All right, that's all we have time for today. Again, my name is Shane. I'm here with Mark, and we are the Fantasy Football Pros. Thank you so much for listening, and tune in to listen to the next one. Bye, guys.
Goodbye.